Welcome back with our world lead. President Biden today announced a full ban on Russian oil, natural gas, and coal imports to the United States. President Biden saying he hopes this will, quote, deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. Joining us live to discuss, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who serves on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and met with President Zelensky in Ukraine before the invasion. Senator, how big of an impact will this make in deterring Vladimir Putin's bloodshed in Ukraine, especially given the fact that this is a unilateral move made independently of European allies, though I'm sure Biden tried to get them on board?
Listen, this is not a symbolic move, but without Russia, without Europe, the impact on Russia's economy of just removing their oil from import to the United States is probably limited. I think there's a moral imperative for the United States to not send money to fund Putin's war, but we are a very small share of Russia's exports. And so doing this without Europe, I don't think is necessarily going to fundamentally change Putin's calculus. It's ultimately going to be the accumulation of the impact of all of these economic sanctions that may eventually cause Putin to realize he may have a choice to be made between perpetuating this war in Ukraine and keeping a hold on power. So I'm glad the president went ahead with it. I think we got to be careful to make sure that there's not too big an impact on American consumers. But without Europe, the impact on Putin remains to be seen.
Russian oil supplies, as you noted, it's only a small slice of U.S. energy needs, just 8% in 2021. In the second half of February, the Department of Energy reported that imports dropped to zero as U.S. companies cut ties with Russia. So I guess I wonder, given the fact that American companies were already doing this, what do you say about this ban? Was it necessary even? Was the free market already doing that?
Well, as the United States economy continues to rev up, there was certainly going to be an increased demand on energy consumption, and thus you always have the possibility of private companies bringing in Russian energy. I think it makes sense to have this policy on the books. I just don't know that we should overhype its impact. Ultimately, the broader sanctions that we have levied on Russian banks and news of all of these private companies, from Starbucks to Coca-Cola to MasterCard, pulling out of Russia, that's really where the primary impact is going to be. But let's just admit the insanity of a U.S. economy that continues to run on oil that is provided to us by dictators. The reality is, if we're not getting this oil from Russia, we're likely going to be importing more from another brutal dictator in Saudi Arabia, for instance, or we may have to go to Venezuela for oil. We should ultimately learn our lesson here and become energy independent and choose to invest in clean domestic energy, so we never have to choose between one dictator versus another.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans say the same thing, except they're not talking about clean energy. They're just talking about American fossil fuels from Louisiana or ANWR or Keystone. But on that subject, though, you raise an important point. You talk about the moral imperative of the United States not funding Putin's brutal, barbaric war against the Ukrainian people. But the solution to that is that we're now going to be funding Maduro in Venezuela or the mullahs in Iran or the Saudi regime. I mean, these are also governments that are doing things that they'll take our money and use it to do things that are morally repugnant.
Well, I don't think massive U.S. oil imports from Venezuela or Iran coming anytime soon. It is, though likely, we are going to need to import more oil from the Saudis. And on any given day, the behavior of the Saudi regime rivals that of the Venezuelans and the Iranians. I think you need to remember, when you talk about domestic oil production, there's no guarantee that that stays in the United States. When we produce oil here in the United States, that goes to the highest bidder. Sometimes that's here in the U.S., but oftentimes that oil gets sent to China. That oil gets sent to Europe. Renewable energy stays in the United States. When we are producing energy from solar panels or from wind turbines, that stays on the American grid. So if you really care about keeping American-made energy in the United States, you should be investing in renewables.
So gas prices are at record highs. And a lot of Americans were already struggling to buy gas for their car. This might not affect you or me, but people in rural America who travel long distances, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, this really makes a difference. What can the administration, the Congress do to help those struggling Americans? Polls indicate that people, including a majority of Republicans, are willing to sacrifice for this moral imperative But what more can be done for the people who really can't afford this?
No, listen, I think you're exactly right. And I've frankly been saying this for the last several days, is that I frankly didn't want the administration to move out too quickly on this policy without making sure that we could backfill that Russian oil, because I do think it's really easy for the political elites in Washington to tell low-income consumers they should pay more for a gallon of gasoline in order to save Ukraine. That's a lot harder for people that don't have the extra money in Waterbury, Connecticut. So I think in the short run, that probably does mean we're going to have to bring in more oil from places like Saudi Arabia. I'm interested in a proposal that some of my colleagues have here to temporarily suspend the gas tax or lower the gas tax to try to defray the cost for consumers. But I think as long as this war is happening in Ukraine, the market is going to price in an amount of instability that's going to keep energy prices high.
Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, thank you so much. Good to see you, sir. Coming up, U.S.